And OSS really plays the part of adding metadata to it, which is consumed by the rule engine to be able to render different view types or view categories of the same model. So I can really specify with the metadata what should happen with the model on the view side.
Exactly. Hello, everyone.
Hi to all of you watching this, and welcome to this very first episode where we are going to introduce you to a meta-driven concept that helps you building Angular applications at scale. And this framework is called MetaUI.
My name is Frank Kolar, and I'm software architect at Ariba SAP. And this is also a little attempt trying to show you what are cool things we're actually working on in the company as well. And I'm creator of this MetaUI project for Angular, and we'll probably get into more details in the next episode, how everything all is started.
Yes. Yeah, and my name is Gregor Vojvode. I am a software architect at CoIT, and I am also a core contributor to the MetaUI project.
Cool, and maybe we should get right to the point and make this episode as short as possible and the most effective we can get out of this, right?
Exactly. And we also hope that maybe one of you can sit with us in the next episode here to discuss relevant topics about enterprise scaling applications, such like our state management and everything which we can do better in future and which we can bring to the MetaUI ecosystem as well.
Because you know what, we want to make it really easy for you to build large-scale enterprise application that are customizable. We are actually even writing a code. And this is what we are going to focus today, the first introduction.
Yeah, so this is a very critical point. It's not only about consistency in your application, it's also about to reduce the amount of code as you need to write to scale out the amount of views that you produce in your project. So, okay, then I think we can start by just telling a little bit about what MetaUI actually is. And I know, Frank, you have prepared some slides for us, right?
Yes, I have a few slides. Let me share my screen. Okay. So what is MetaUI? You already probably got some idea what MetaUI can give you from the first few words that we had in the beginning. But if I should rephrase this again, then I should probably say that MetaUI is new, innovative way that can make it really easy for you to build highly customizable enterprise application without writing actual HTML code for things that you traditionally have to. Not only this will help application developers, but also it will help mainly library owners to streamline their development and focus on the things that are really important, right? And we can probably jump right away into my first slide, because what could be better than just start with some example, right? If you look at this slide, you see a page with 15 fields and you see actual HTML code. And the things I'm trying to show you is, look at this code, how many lines of code I have to actually use to be able to render those 15 fields. It's over 100 lines of code. And if you think about it, this component is already abstracted out with many details hidden. So it will probably even more lines. But if you think that just to use so many lines of code just to render those 15 fields, it's a lot. And this is just one page out of many in the enterprise. If you're supposed to build 100 pages, it will be a lot of line of code, right? And this is something we call traditional approach. And if you're doing this, please stop. There are better ways. And this is something we'll definitely want to show you.
Yeah, and I think it's not only about writing this code, it's also about maintaining. What happens if the order changes or the layout changes of this form? I do not really want to re-implement this form over and over and over again just because of a small requirement change.
Exactly, and you don't want to spend too much time fixing bugs and issues, right? When it can be fixed only once. So what is really MetaUI? Well, we can say MetaUI is a really smart rule engine, really small footprint with really minimum set of APIs and with really minimum set of components that can take your model and metadata describing this model, which is our special rules that we call OSS rules, object style sheet rules, in order to derive dynamically whole user interface on the fly without letting you lay out every single component side by side, line by line, manually. And this is something that we try to avoid. And when we say OSS rules is something special here because we have special language that we call OSS, which stands for Object Style Sheet, which was heavily inspired by CSS. And just like CSS is additive, where more common rules can be overwritten by more specific rules, it gives us pretty much a lot of great power in terms of flexibility and customization. And just like CSS has selectors, OSS has selectors as well. Just like CSS, or this is more like sassy style, can be written in more nested way, OSS as well. Or you can actually write everything in an inline way, just like you will see in the last slide I have actually prepared for you. And just like CSS, they have properties, right? And those properties actually drive the whole rendering cycle. So this is a little different between CSS and OSS. And I always try to actually capture what this whole idea is all about. Because in traditional approach, this is how we call the way you assemble your user interface in the first place I show you. Everything is centered around our domain objects, for which we build different user interfaces, different business flow. And if you have such a large application, let's say purchasing system, it would be pretty much easy to put together domain objects, right? 10 domain objects. You can have invoice, you can have purchase order, I don't know, purchase requisition, receipt, and I can keep going. And if you have 10 objects, which is pretty much nothing, and for each you need to at least create 3 pages, maybe 4, edit, view, create, and maybe a list, right? Then you will end up with 30 pages. And if I use my first example from the second slide, then it's gonna over 3,000 lines of code, which is a lot. And this is something you don't want to do.
Okay, I just want to summarize a few things, or one thing. So basically, MetaUI is about that I have a model, or maybe it's a TypeScript class, right? If I understood it correctly.
Yes, yes, yes.
And OSS really plays the part of adding metadata to it, which is consumed by the rule engine to be able to render different view types or view categories of the same model. So I can really specify with the metadata what should happen with the model on the view side.
Exactly. And
okay.
you can do different kinds of variation, just like you are able to do with CSS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And last slide, when I say it's all about customization, just like CSS is all about customization. Let me give you this simple example. And you know, in the real application, I can have some base rule, just like I could have base rule in CSS. And what this rule tells me is that for all the fields and the type money, please set the property component is money and connect some bindings together. In this case, I'm connecting ng model with current field value. And what it actually ends up with is it's going to render this specific money component if I'm working with type money. But maybe on the application level, you don't like this implementation at all. Maybe you have your own component you want to use instead. So it just takes a few selectors, just like this one. If application is GB, which in this specific case, GB stands for guide buying, and I'm dealing with type money, then I want to use multi-currency component. And even on the application level, there will be probably situation where across all application, I want to use this specific component, but for this specific checkout page, I want to use slightly different component. And again, with rules, there is no issue. You just specify a specific selector, target specific page, specific type, and you can actually reset the property. More common rules are overwritten by more specific rules, just like in this case.
So like CSS does it.
Just like CSS does it.
Yeah, it's the same mental model. Okay.
And for this reason, I can actually try to use nested structure, just like you are more familiar with CSS where everything is in line, right? You have just selectors, key value, key value, key value, nothing else.
Yeah,
and
great.
Properties. So that's pretty much very short introduction that I wanted to share with you. And hopefully, let me clean it up. And hopefully next time we'll be able to actually to see some real examples where we're going to build application, right, Gregor?
Yeah, this will be awesome because we are planning for the next episode to build a real application with MetaUI, where we try out how OS rules work and how you can bootstrap your whole project with it. And this is really just the beginning, because we are also planning to build a whole enterprise application step by step, including having a landing page, doing navigation, wiring up multiple forms and services. And we will also take care about state management and how MetaUI thinks state management should be solved for enterprise applications. So yeah, we hope you have enjoyed this video, and everything that is left to us is to say bye-bye and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.